Chinedu divorced Adiz for being barren, and threw her out with nothing. 7 years later, he invited his struggling ex-wife to his stepdaughter's wedding to humiliate her. But when a white Rolls-Royce arrived and Adiz stepped out with Triplets, his cruel plan completely backfired. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. My name is Adiz Nwosu. Today I am 32 years old and worth 80 billion Nigerian nairas. But this story begins 7 years ago when I was a struggling young woman whose husband threw me out of our house because I couldn't give him children. I was 25 when I married Chinedu Okoro in what everyone called the wedding of the year in Enugu. Chinedu's family owned several businesses, import companies, real estate, and a chain of supermarkets across the southeast. My family was much more modest. My father was a secondary school teacher and my mother sold fabrics at the main market. "You are marrying above your station," my aunties warned me. "Make sure you prove yourself worthy of the Okoro family name." Chinedu was handsome, wealthy, and charming during our courtship. He promised me the world and treated me like a princess. I was completely in love and believed our marriage would be blessed with happiness and children. For the first year, everything seemed perfect. We lived in a beautiful mansion in Independence Layout, Enugu. I had house helps, a driver, and everything a young wife could want. Chinedu's mother, Lolo Okoro, seemed to accept me, and his father, Chief Okoro, was always polite. But as months passed without me getting pregnant, the atmosphere in the house began to change. "Adiz, you need to see a fertility specialist," Lolo Okoro told me after our first year of marriage. "The Okoro family must have heirs." I went to doctors in Enugu, Lagos, and even London. They ran every test possible and the results were always the same. There was nothing wrong with me. The doctors said sometimes pregnancy just takes time and we should be patient. But Chinedu's family was not patient people. "Maybe she is barren," I heard Lolo Okoro whispering to her friends during one of her weekly prayer meetings. "Some women are just not meant to bear children." By our second year of marriage, Chinedu himself began to change. He started coming home late, claiming he was busy with business. He stopped being affectionate and barely spoke to me except to complain about household matters. "All my friends have children," he would say. "What will people think of me if my wife cannot even give me one child?" "Chinedu, the doctor said we should be patient. Many couples take longer to conceive." "Maybe the problem is not medical," he would reply coldly. "Maybe God is showing me I married the wrong woman." His words cut through my heart like a knife, but I kept hoping and praying that things would improve. In our third year of marriage, Chinedu stopped sharing our bedroom completely. He moved to the guest room, claiming he needed better sleep for his business activities. That's when I learned he was having an affair. Her name was Chioma Eze, daughter of a wealthy politician from Abuja. She was 23, beautiful, and from a family that could match the Okoro's social status. "At least she comes from a family with proven fertility," Lolo Okoro said when she thought I couldn't hear. Her mother had 6 children. The humiliation was unbearable. Everyone in our social circle knew about Chinedu's affair, but I was expected to endure it quietly like a good Igbo wife. "These things happen in marriage," my mother-in-law told me. "If you were fulfilling your duties as a wife, your husband wouldn't need to look elsewhere." I tried everything to save my marriage. I prayed harder, I tried to be a better wife, I even suggested we adopt children. But Chinedu had already made up his mind. One evening in our 4th year of marriage, he came home with divorce papers. "I'm done waiting," he announced. "I want children and you clearly cannot give them to me. Sign these papers." "Chinedu, please, let's try a little longer. Maybe we could do IVF." "I don't want to try anymore. I found someone who can give me what I need." He meant Chioma, who had already gotten pregnant with his child during their affair. The divorce was swift and brutal. Because I had signed a prenuptial agreement, I got almost nothing. The house, the cars, the investments, everything belonged to Chinedu. I was given 5 million Nigerian nairas as a settlement, and told to leave the house within 1 week. "Don't think you can come back begging when you realize what you've lost," Lolo Okoro said as I packed my belongings. "My son is better off without a barren woman dragging down the family name." I moved back to my parents' small house in Coal Camp, Enugu, completely broken and humiliated. At 28, I felt like my life was over. The community gossip was merciless. "Poor Adiz couldn't even keep her husband happy," people would whisper. "I heard she's barren. No wonder he divorced her. She should have known a rich man like Chinedu would never stay with a woman who can't give him children." For months, I stayed in my room, too ashamed to face the world. I had lost my husband, my home, my social status, and my sense of self-worth. But my father, Mr. Peter Nwosu, refused to let me give up. Adiz, my daughter, he said one evening, your worth is not determined by your ability to have children or by what one man thinks of you. Papa, what's the point? I'm 28, divorced and apparently barren. Who will want me now? The question is not who will want you. The question is what you want for yourself. His words planted a seed in my mind. I started thinking about my life before marriage. I had always been intelligent and ambitious. I had studied business administration at the University of Nigeria and graduated with second-class upper. I had dreams of starting my own company someday. Maybe it's time to stop feeling sorry for myself and start building something, I told myself. With my 5 million Nigerian naira settlement, I decided to start a small business. I had always been good at buying and selling, and I noticed that there was a gap in the market for high-quality African fabrics and fashion accessories. I started small, buying fabrics from manufacturers and selling them to fashion designers and tailors in Enugu. I worked from my parents' living room, using my phone to coordinate orders and deliveries. Within 6 months, my business was growing steadily. I was making enough money to rent a small shop in the main market. But I had bigger dreams. I noticed that most African fabrics were imported from China or India, even though the designs were supposedly traditional African patterns. The quality was often poor, and the prices were high because of import duties. What if I could produce authentic African fabrics right here in Nigeria? I wondered. I used all my profits and took a small loan to buy fabric-making equipment. I hired local artists to create genuinely traditional Igbo and Nigerian designs. I focused on quality, authenticity, and fair pricing. My timing was perfect. There was a growing movement of African pride, and people wanted authentic African clothing and accessories. My fabrics became popular with fashion designers not just in Nigeria, but across West Africa. Within 2 years, my small fabric business had become Nwosu Textiles, with factories in Enugu and Aba, employing over 200 people. But I didn't stop there. I expanded into fashion design, creating ready-to-wear African clothing for both local and international markets. I opened stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. Then I moved into digital marketing, creating online platforms to sell African fashion globally. African Americans and Africans in the diaspora were hungry for authentic African clothing, and my company became one of the leading exporters. By my 30th birthday, Nwosu Textiles and Fashion had become a 10 billion Nigerian nairas company. I was featured on the cover of African Business magazine as Young Entrepreneur of the Year. But the most amazing thing happened when I was 31. I met Dr. Emeka Adebayo at a business conference in Lagos. He was a successful orthopedic surgeon who had built a chain of medical clinics across Nigeria. He was handsome, intelligent, kind, and most importantly, he saw me as a complete woman worthy of love, not as a potential baby-making machine. Your success is inspiring, he told me during our first conversation. You've built something incredible from nothing. Thank you. It wasn't easy, but it taught me that I'm stronger than I thought. I admire that. Too many people let setbacks define them. You used yours as stepping stones. We began dating, and for the first time since my divorce I felt truly happy. Emeka loved me for who I was, my intelligence, my ambition, my kindness, my strength. When he proposed after 8 months of dating, I was overjoyed. Adiz, I love you completely, he said. Whatever happens in our future, children or no children, I want to spend my life with you. We had a beautiful traditional wedding ceremony in my village, followed by a white wedding in Abuja. Unlike my first marriage, this one was built on genuine love, respect, and equality. 3 months after our wedding, I got the shock of my life. I was pregnant. Not just pregnant, I was carrying triplets. Mrs. Adebayo, the doctor said during my ultrasound, you're having 3 babies. All healthy and developing perfectly. I cried tears of joy. After 7 years of being told I was barren, I was not only pregnant but carrying 3 children at once. Emeka was beside himself with happiness, but he kept reassuring me. Even if this hadn't happened, I would still love you just as much. These babies are a blessing, but you were already complete to me. The pregnancy went smoothly, and at 37 weeks, I gave birth to 2 boys and 1 girl, Chikamso, Chukwemeka, and Adana. Holding my 3 babies in my arms, I finally understood that my first marriage's failure had nothing to do with my worth as a woman. It was simply not meant to be. Now, at 32, I was the mother of beautiful triplets, the wife of a wonderful man who truly loved me, and the CEO of a company worth 80 billion Nigerian nairas. Life had a funny way of working out. That's when I received an invitation that made me laugh out loud. It was an expensive card with gold lettering. Chief Chinedu Okoro and Mrs. Chioma Okoro request the pleasure of your company at the wedding celebration of their daughter, Miss Kelechi Okoro, to Mr. Obinna Ease. At the bottom, someone had written in pen, "Hope you can attend to see how well the Okoro family is doing. Chinedu." I showed the invitation to Emeka, who shook his head in disbelief. "Your ex-husband is inviting you to his stepdaughter's wedding? That's either very strange or very petty." "It's petty," I replied. "He wants to show off his successful family and make me feel bad about what I lost." "Are you going to go?" I thought about it for a moment. The old Adiz would have hidden at home, too ashamed to face her ex-husband and his new family. But I wasn't that woman anymore. "Yes," I said with a smile. "I'm going to go." "Are you sure? It might be uncomfortable." "Emeka, 7 years ago that man threw me away like garbage because he thought I was worthless. I think it's time he sees what he actually threw away." The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon at the prestigious Nike Lake Resort in Enugu, one of the most expensive wedding venues in the southeast. I spent the week before the wedding getting everything ready. I had my designer create a stunning traditional Igbo outfit using the finest fabrics from my own company, a breathtaking coral and gold Ankara ensemble with intricate beadwork and embroidery. My Geli head wrap was a work of art that took 3 hours to tie perfectly. I booked appointments at the best salon in Lagos for my hair, nails, and makeup. I wanted to look absolutely radiant. Most importantly, I arranged for transportation that would make a statement. 2 days before the wedding, I called the most exclusive car rental company in Nigeria. "I need to rent your finest Rolls-Royce for Saturday with a professional chauffeur. We have a white Rolls-Royce Phantom available. The rental fee is 2 million Nigerian nairas per day." "Perfect. I'll take it." On Saturday morning, I dressed carefully in my magnificent outfit. Emeka wore a matching traditional Igbo outfit, and we dressed our 1-year-old triplets in adorable matching Ankara outfits. The babies looked like little angels, Chikamso and Chukwemeka in tiny Igbata robes, and Adana in a miniature traditional dress with a tiny geli. "Are you ready for this?" Emeka asked as we prepared to leave. "I've been ready for 7 years," I replied. The Rolls-Royce Phantom arrived at our house in Banana Island at exactly 2 p.m. It was a magnificent white vehicle that cost more than most people's houses. Our professional chauffeur, dressed in a crisp uniform, opened the door for us. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Adebayo. Are we ready to make an entrance?" "We certainly are." The drive from Lagos to Enugu took 4 hours, but we traveled in luxury. The Rolls-Royce had every comfort imaginable: leather seats, climate control, entertainment system, and enough space for our family and the baby's equipment. We arrived at Nike Lake Resort at exactly 6 p.m., just as the reception was beginning. I could see the wedding was everything I expected: over-the-top expensive, with hundreds of guests, elaborate decorations and multiple live bands. "Mrs. Adebayo, shall I drive right up to the main entrance?" our chauffeur asked. "Yes. Make sure everyone can see us arriving." As our Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up to the main entrance of Nike Lake Resort, I could see guests stopping their conversations to stare. A white Rolls-Royce was unusual enough in Nigeria, but arriving in one at a wedding meant you were either extremely wealthy or very important. Our chauffeur stepped out and opened the door for me first. I emerged gracefully, my coral and gold outfit shimmering in the evening light. My geli was perfectly positioned and my jewelry caught the setting sun. Then Emeka stepped out, looking handsome and distinguished in his traditional outfit. But the real showstopper was when our nanny handed us our triplets. I held Adana, Emeka carried Chikamso, and our nanny brought Chukwemeka. All 3 babies were alert and beautiful, looking around with curiosity at all the lights and colors. The entire wedding reception seemed to pause as we walked toward the entrance. I could hear whispers starting immediately. Is that Adiz? She came in a Rolls-Royce. Are those her children? She has 3 babies. Look at her outfit, that's expensive Ankara. Who is that handsome man with her? Word of our arrival spread quickly through the reception. I could see people pulling out their phones to take pictures and videos. We were escorted to seats at a table near the front, ironically, close to where Chinedu and Chioma were sitting with the wedding party. As we sat down, I caught Chinedu's eye across the room. His expression was priceless, a mixture of shock, confusion, and something that looked like regret. Chioma, now his wife of 6 years, looked equally stunned. She was wearing an expensive gold outfit, but even I could see it wasn't as elegant as mine. The bride, Kelechi, was Chioma's daughter from a previous relationship. Chinedu had adopted her after marrying Chioma. Mama, little Adana babbled, reaching for my face. Several women at nearby tables were staring at my beautiful babies with obvious admiration. "Annie, your children are so beautiful," one woman said in Igbo. "Are they triplets?" "Yes, they are," I replied proudly. "God blessed us with 3 at once. What a blessing. And that little girl looks exactly like you." Throughout the evening, people kept approaching our table to admire the babies and compliment my outfit. Many recognized me from business magazines and wanted to talk about my company. "You're Adis Nwosu, the textile queen," one man exclaimed. "I read about your company in Business Day. Very impressive." "Actually, it's Adis Adebayo now," I corrected with a smile, showing my wedding ring. "Congratulations. And these beautiful children, God has truly blessed you." I could see Chinedu and Chioma watching these interactions with growing discomfort. During dinner, Lolo Okoro, my former mother-in-law, finally approached our table. "Adis," she said stiffly, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Hello, Lolo," I replied graciously. "Thank you for the invitation. It's a beautiful wedding." She looked at my babies with complex emotions crossing her face. "These are your children?" "Yes. These are my triplets Chikamso, Chukwemeka, and Adana. And this is my husband, Dr. Emeka Adebayo." Emeka stood and greeted her respectfully. "Good evening, Ma. Thank you for having us." Lolo Okoro was clearly struggling with what to say. 7 years ago she had called me barren and worthless. Now I was sitting in front of her with 3 beautiful children and obvious prosperity. "They are very beautiful children," she finally managed. "Thank you, Ma. God's timing is always perfect." The irony in my words was not lost on her. After she walked away, Emeka squeezed my hand under the table. "You handled that with incredible grace," he whispered. "I learned a long time ago that the best revenge is success and happiness." As the evening progressed, more and more people learned who I was and came to our table. Word spread that the elegant woman with triplets who arrived in a Rolls-Royce was Chinedu's ex-wife, the one he had divorced for being barren. The whispers became louder. "Can you believe he divorced her for not having children, and now she has triplets? Look how successful she became after leaving him. That Rolls-Royce must have cost more than most people's houses. Her business empire is worth billions now. And her new husband is a famous doctor." I could see Chinedu becoming more and more uncomfortable as the evening went on. What was supposed to be his moment to show off had become a showcase of my success. During the dancing portion of the reception, the DJ called for special recognition of important guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have some very distinguished visitors with us tonight," the MC announced. "Please join me in welcoming Dr. and Mrs. Emeka Adebayo." Mrs. Adebayo is the CEO of Nwosu Textiles and Fashion, one of Nigeria's most successful companies. The entire room erupted in applause. I stood and waved graciously, with Emeka beside me and our babies in our arms. "Mrs. Adebayo, would you like to say a few words to the couple?" the MC asked. I walked to the microphone with confidence. "Thank you for this warm welcome," I began. "I want to congratulate Kelechi and Obinna on their beautiful wedding. Marriage is a wonderful blessing when it's built on love, respect, and genuine partnership." I paused and looked directly at Chinedu and Chioma. "I also want to thank everyone who is part of my journey, both those who supported me and those who, shall we say, redirected my path. Sometimes what seems like an ending is actually a new beginning." The applause was thunderous. Everyone understood exactly what I meant. I wish the new couple all the happiness that comes from true love and mutual respect. And I encourage every young woman here to remember that your worth is not determined by other people's opinions of you, but by what you build with your own hands and heart. As I returned to my seat, I could see tears in some women's eyes. My message had resonated with many people who had faced rejection or dismissal. After the formal speeches, Chinedu finally approached our table. "Adis," he said uncomfortably, "can I speak with you privately?" I looked at Emeka, who nodded. "I'll watch the babies." Chinedu and I walked to a quiet corner of the venue. I need to say something," he began hesitantly. "What is it, Chinedu?" "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake 7 years ago." I waited for him to continue. "I thought the problem was with you. I thought you were. You thought I was barren and worthless," I finished for him. "Yes, and I was wrong. Completely wrong." "Yes, you were. Seeing you tonight, with your children, your success, your happiness, I realize what I threw away." I looked at him with a mixture of pity and satisfaction. "Chinedu, you didn't throw me away. You freed me." "What do you mean?" "If you hadn't divorced me, I would never have discovered my own strength. I would never have built my business empire. I would never have met Emeka. I would never have had these beautiful children. He looked confused. Your rejection forced me to find my own path. Your cruelty taught me my own worth. Your abandonment led me to my true destiny. I paused to let this sink in. So thank you. Thank you for showing me that I didn't need you to be complete. Thank you for teaching me that my value doesn't depend on one man's opinion of me. Adiz, do you think we could ever? I held up my hand to stop him. Chinedu, I'm happily married to a man who loves me completely. I have 3 beautiful children and a successful business. Why would I want to go backward? I just thought, maybe? Maybe what? Maybe I've been waiting 7 years for you to realize your mistake? Maybe I've been hoping you would come back to me? I shook my head. I stopped waiting for you the day you handed me those divorce papers. I stopped hoping for your love the day I realized I didn't need it. We were interrupted by Emeka approaching with baby Adana in his arms. Sorry to interrupt, he said politely, but Adana is asking for her mother. I took my daughter, who immediately smiled and reached for my face. Chinedu, this is my husband, Dr. Emeka Adebayo. Emeka, this is my ex-husband, Chinedu Okoro. The 2 men shook hands cordially, but I could see Chinedu sizing up Emeka, his confidence, his obvious love for me, his comfortable way with our children. Congratulations on your family, Chinedu said stiffly. Thank you, Emeka replied. We're very blessed. Ready to go home, my love? Emeka asked me. Yes, I think it's time. As we prepared to leave, I realized that many guests wanted to say goodbye and take pictures with us. The triplets had become the stars of the reception. Our chauffeur brought the Rolls-Royce to the entrance, and once again, all eyes were on us as we made our exit. But this time, I noticed something different in the way people looked at us. It wasn't just admiration for our wealth or success. It was respect for how I had handled the evening, with grace, dignity, and confidence. As we drove away from the wedding, Emeka took my hand. How do you feel? He asked. Grateful, I replied honestly. Grateful? Yes. Grateful that Chinedu rejected me 7 years ago. Grateful that his family humiliated me. Grateful that I was forced to discover my own strength. I looked at our 3 sleeping babies. If none of that had happened, I would never have built my business. I would never have met you. I would never have had Chikamso, Chukwemeka, and Adana. So you're glad he invited you to the wedding? I laughed. He wanted to humiliate me by showing me what I had lost. Instead, he gave me the opportunity to show him what he threw away. And what did he throw away? A woman who was destined for greatness. A woman who would have made him proud if he had been patient and supportive. A woman who would have been loyal to him forever if he had truly loved her. I paused and smiled. But most importantly, he threw away the chance to be the father of these 3 amazing children. As our Rolls-Royce carried us back to Lagos, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this moment. 7 years ago, I was a broken, humiliated woman who thought her life was over. Tonight, I was a successful businesswoman, a loving wife, and the mother of 3 beautiful children, riding in luxury after showing my ex-husband exactly what he had lost. The invitation that was meant to embarrass me had instead become my moment of triumph. Sometimes the best response to those who try to humiliate you is simply to show up and be magnificently, undeniably successful. Sometimes the greatest revenge is not revenge at all, it's just living well. And sometimes, when people try to diminish you, the best thing you can do is prove them wrong by becoming everything they said you could never be. As we drove through the night toward our beautiful home and our beautiful life, I realized that Chinedu's wedding invitation had given me something precious, the opportunity to close that chapter of my life completely. I was no longer the woman he had rejected. I was the woman I had chosen to become. And that woman was magnificent.